Hi, my name is Graceland. I'm a high elo puppy main, and this is my puppy jungle guide. Throughout the video, I'll be going over various subjects such as what can puppy do, which will be showcased with various video clips. I'll also go over the different playstyles, flare farming, elder lizard ganking slash counter ganking, and the Rengarish style that I've come to like quite a lot. I'll take each in the order of runes, then masteries, then builds and summoners. First I'll show two clips of what Poppy really can do, both when she's regularly hitting the late game and when she's really fat. In the first clip, we've just managed with a bit of momentum to turn the game to about equal gold. We are now trying to siege the mid lane. We see that they all respawned and therefore try to disengage. I see, as they are following us, an opportunity to ult fresh and smash Arya into the wall. She, while stunned, dies before she could even use her Sonya's. After that it's pretty much just us trying to clean up the fight. And then in this clip, where I'm extremely fed, I can just dive 1 vs 5 under a turret, kill a person and run off. Now to talk about playstyles. First there's the farm to win feral flare style. You farm up your flare, you build more or less full damage and you carry the late game. Here's a clip showing the standard flare route. You start Machete plus 1 pot and you start with your first buff, which you have bot lane help you with. You then continue to the camp with the most monsters, which is Wraith or Wolves, and then go for the one with the most HP, which is Golem or White, and you'll have to smite it. You'll then go into recall, pick up Mattress and go for your top side jungle. You start with either Golems or White depending on if you have vision on your buff. Thereafter you take the buff, smite it and go for the next camp. You clear that camp and run to the complete opposite side of the jungle. Take that camp, and from then on just skip every third camp while clearing. For the hypercarry rune page I use 3 flat attack speed quints, 9 flat attack speed glyphs, 9 flat attack damage seals, 5 flat attack damage marks and 4 flat attack speed marks. This is to farm up your flare as fast as possible, so you can enter hypercarry mode as fast as possible while still having some AD left if you should end up fighting someone. As for masteries, in this case I like to go 2109. This is for the increased offensive stats like increased damage and increased sustain, for the mobility like the increased run speed and summoner spell cooldown, and for the increased buff duration. With this you should be able to farm your flare as fast as possible without dying, while also be able to do a ton of damage in the late game. And now for the build path and summoner spells. As I said earlier, you want to start Machete and 1 health pot. This is to get Mattress right after clearing the bot side jungle, and the health pot is if you think you're going to be in danger of getting killed in the jungle. Core items are going to be Feral Flare, Blade of the Ruin King, Trinity Force, and Boots, which is usually the Greaves or Mercury Threads. The rest is pretty situational depending on if you want damage or defensives now. As for summoners, you'd either want Ghost Smite for late game and fast ganks, or TP Smite if you intend to counter gank or TP gank. You'll normally have your flare around 12 or 13 minutes. Now it's time to talk about playing as a ganker slash counter jungler. It's time to talk about Elder Lizard, in which you rely on winning slash spiking out in the mid to early late game, while ganking and counter jungling most of the time. And for this, here's a clip in which I invade a Kha'Zix level 2, albeit a bit clunky. I just took my own red, and now I'm running towards his to invade. I warded and I notice he's coming, so I fight him and I stun him on the wall, but he flashes out, and I don't really want to flash after him, because I'm not entirely sure if I can catch up to him. I then have my top laner come down to help, so I can take his red buff peacefully. Raven chases him out and I smite the buff. Raven then holds the brush and I look around if the enemy top laner should be following, but luckily he doesn't, and I take their race while they're both out of sight. I notice Sid is low on HP, but I can't really get to him because he's under the turret. I figured Kha'Zix will come back to clear the jungle again, so this time I'll go back for the kill. I stun him on the wall and kill him without even having to use my flash. And now for the runes. For this setup you can use a couple of different runes here and there, but my setup goes like 3 flat attack speed quints, 3 flat magic penetration glyphs, or magic resist if that's what you need, 6 flat cooldown reduction glyphs, 4 flat armor seals, 5 flat attack damage seals, and 9 flat attack damage marks. I used the 3 magic penetration cliffs as part of a magic pen build, which relies on a mid-game spike. As for masteries, I like to run 2190 because of the cooldown reduction and extra damage, as well as the flat and scaling ability power and attack damage. And the 9 points in the defensive tree goes to take less damage in general and to have more HP in overall. I use this exact mastery page if I plan on running magic penetration, but I can change it up a little if I plan on going AD, in which I take 4 points away from the masteries that gives AP, and I put them into dangerous game, spell weaving, blade weaving, and butcher. And now for probably the most important part of the Elder Lizard playstyle, the actual build. As I've mentioned before, I have 2 main builds where I'm playing with Elder Lizard. In one which I get a bunch of magic penetration in the mid game, and one where I just build AD and tanky. The major difference lies in the ability to farm, as well as the fact that the magic penetration build is more bursty while the other, more or less, relies on sustained damage. I normally use the magic penetration build if our team has no AP mid or top, or if I need a mid game power spike, and the other I use if I feel the need to calm the jungle mostly, but we still need some physical damage. As for the magic penetration build, the core items are Elder Lizard, Sorcerer Boots, Sheen, and Haunting Guys. This is to get magic penetration to easily kill the squishies, and still get some decent physical damage from Elder Lizard. You'll later upgrade Sheen into Trinity, and most likely get a Coast Blade too for the CDR, AD, and the active. Of course the crit and armor penetration is nice too. As for the AD build, you want Elder Lizard, Tiamat, and Trinity Force, and boots of your own choice of course. Tiamat should only be upgraded after Trinity is bought. After that you just want to buy what seems necessary. And summoners will be Flash Might because Flat is great when counter jungling and ganking in general, and well, Smite is self-explanatory. And now for the last playstyle I'll be covering, the get CDR and gank at level 6 playstyle, or as I'd like to call it, the Rengar style. You literally just get 40% CDR and gank around. Get a couple of damage items, then go full tank for the rest. Here's a video clip showing how effective you can be just by getting a few tank items and some specific damage items. We're being sieged at because we're kind of behind. Fresh hits a hook but is out of position. I slam him into the wall and he dies immediately. Lee Sin gets ulted by Lissandra, so I ult him and I go for Chase and Twitch. Chase dies pretty fast, which leaves me to easily go for Twitch while still having a bit of my ult left. Twitch also dies pretty rapidly, but I'm still at a decent amount of HP, so I end up taking out Lee Sin as well, and we win that fight in a ace for 1. Now to the runes. The runes are actually fairly standard on this one. I like to run 3 flat attack speed quints, 9 scaling magic resist glyphs, 4 flat armor seals, 5 flat attack speed seals, and 9 flat attack damage marks. Obviously, if you need to, you can change the scaling magic resist with flat magic resist, and change the 5 flat attack speed seals into 5 flat armor seals, so you have a total of 9 armor seals. It's all about preferences. As for masteries, I once again run 2190, but a bit differently, because I get both the attack speed and the CDR in the first tile, and I make sure to get dangerous game. Rest is always pretty standard, they're just to increase your damage while reducing the damage you take. And now in the end there's the build. It's not really too complicated though. Core items are Feral Flare, Trinity Force, and cooldown reduction boots. The next item you'll get is usually either Blade of Ruin King or Ghost Blade. However, you don't really want both. You take Blade if the enemy has 2 or more tanky members, or if you tend to build Frozen Heart. And you take Ghost Blade if the enemies are mostly squishy, or if you tend to go for Infinity Edge afterwards. As for the late game, you, in far the most cases, want at least 2 tank items, which is most preferably Banshees or Frozen Heart. However, if you feel the need to carry, then Infinity Edge and Hydra are both great items as well for damage items. Both for the summoners I recommend Ghost Might if you don't think Flash is necessary, or if you plan to teamfight a bunch. Or you could go Flash Might if you plan to counter jungle possibly, or do dangerous plays. Either is fine to be honest. And this is the end of my Jungle Puppy video guide. I've learned you the basics of playing Puppy Jungle with a bit of variety, so you can choose whatever suits your preferences. I do apologize for any misspellings or mispronunciations, and I hope this has taught you anything, even if it's just a little bit. I'll be uploading this on my top lane guide on Ganking as well, which you can find in the description, and a written jungle guide on Ganking too. I just need to finish writing it. Any feedback would be appreciated, and thanks for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed it and found it useful. See you later.